Coming up on this episode of the Goldilocks Zone, we are doing our year in review and a few things we've missed. We're going to talk all the little bits and pieces that may have fallen off the radar of the topics we've already covered. We've got a few extra to throw on top, and the single biggest announcement in the history of this program. Matt's big face on webcam. Stay tuned. Goldilocks Show is going to start for you right now. You're entering the Goldilocks Zone, episode number 38. Recorded January 7th, 2016. A year in review and what we missed. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Goldilocks Zone, the podcast that can and will talk about literally anything. I'm Sean Jenks, joined as always by the co-host with the most, the man who's the original M&M, Matt Mariani.
How are we doing today, Mr. Sean?
I'm thrilled to be here, Matt. It's been a while since it was just the two of us, or at least it feels that way. We're going old school tonight.
We are, just the two of us.
Not that I don't love D&D. I love D&D, but, you can't beat the original.
It's the original.
We're like Mountain Dew. D&D is like Baja Blast. It's great when you go to Taco Bell, but really you just want Mountain Dew.
Sometimes you just need Mountain Dew.
Sometimes you
just need Pepsi and not Pepsi One.
Right, exactly. We're the original full-flavored
Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal.
Sometimes I just need some Crystal Pepsi. I don't know where to find it.
We're very transparent, put it that way. Fantastic.
How about Pepsi Blue? You remember Pepsi Blue?
I don't remember Pepsi Blue. That was a little short-lived. I remember Pepsi Lime.
Oh, I liked Pepsi Lime.
I loved Pepsi Lime, and they don't. When I go to when I go to restaurants, sometimes I'll ask them to put a lime in my Pepsi.
Or Pepsi Twist.
Pepsi Twist
was great too. All these things disappeared to make way for. I don't even know. They haven't really innovated lately. I don't see too many new.
They've done a lot with the real sugar stuff.
Yeah, cane sugar.
And they have vanilla and cherry, but it's with real sugar, and it is different from the regular Pepsi vanilla and wild cherry Pepsi. Dr. Pepper
had the best cherry flavor of all time.
Oh, and it's still good.
Chocolate cherry.
Oh, wait, hang on. Are you talking about like the vanilla chocolate cherry?
Yeah, it was like
that stuff was gross.
It was like drinking a Tootsie Roll. That's the best way I could describe it.
Nobody wants that.
I would buy it.
Oh,
good stuff.
I'm just nauseous thinking about it. Yeah, that was. I remember Sierra Mist did one with orange in it for a little while. That was really good. I think it was like a tie-in with a movie. It was for a very short time. I love limited time sodas. Now,
speaking of limited time sodas, have you ever picked up the Holiday? I think it was called Holiday Spice. Pepsi's Holiday Spice.
No, but I've read about it.
That was really good. From what I remember, I think the last time I had it, I was in middle school, but they haven't done it in a really long time.
Well, if you're going for holiday sodas, my go-to is the Cranberry Sierra Mist.
Yeah, me too.
Which is a classic. And then, do you remember Pepsi Jazz?
Yeah, I remember Pepsi Jazz. I never had it, but I remember when it was out.
God, yeah, so good.
Old-timey sodas.
But we're not just here to talk about sodas, although we could do a whole episode on sodas, and maybe we will. Instead, we really need to do... Matt, are you a Coke or a Pepsi guy?
I get asked this question a lot, Sean.
Do you?
More than you might expect, strangely enough. And I'm never really prepared to answer it. I think the best way I could describe it is that it depends on the mood. Mm-hmm. Generally, I will say I'm a Pepsi guy.
Okay.
More often than not, if I had two of them in front of me,
yes,
and I knew which both of them were, it wasn't some kind of wacky challenge.
Yep.
I'd go for the Pepsi every time.
Okay. Now, if you only had to drink one for the rest of your life and could never drink the other, which would you choose?
Pepsi.
Okay.
I would go with Pepsi.
All right.
However, I don't really care for Diet Pepsi.
No, Diet
Coke. More of a Diet Coke guy. Yeah. See, Diet Coke, regular Pepsi.
Yeah.
That's the ideal.
I don't think Pepsi plays it because Pepsi is a sweeter drink. It doesn't play as well with the artificial sugar. That's why I think Coke is better.
And I think it also doesn't really play as well with the flavor because I tend to go more for vanilla Coke. I like vanilla Coke better than Pepsi or Coke.
Mm.
I'm not really the biggest fan of vanilla Pepsi. But
now what about cherry Coke versus cherry Pepsi?
Cherry Pepsi.
Yeah, in that case I'm going to agree.
Yeah.
See, my cola preference, if I had to choose, I pretty much always am a Coke guy. I
Yeah.
like Coke. I used to like Pepsi, and it just got too sweet for me. And I like the bit of more bite you get out of Coke. But I like Pepsi. But I will say it's kind of weird because they all like, I like Sprite better than Sierra Mist.
Oh, so you like the product, the Pepsi product instead of
But yeah, I like the family of brands, as they say, for Pepsi. But just the original Coke is, and Dr. Pepper, of course, which is kind of on its own planet.
Dr. Pepper's wonderful.
7-Up is great.
Mr. Pibbs.
Mr.
Or
Pibb.
Now I think it's
Pibb Extra.
Pibb Extra. Yeah.
Pibb Extra. How 90s.
Pibb Extra. Yeah.
The bold taste
That's
of a new
amazing.
generation. Okay, we've talked enough about sodas. This is going to be
soda corner out of the way.
I cannot explain how jam-packed of an episode this will be because we have a lot to cover. Matt,
We have a full year.
do you want to do our big announcement off the bat, or do you want to save it for the end?
I kind of want to do it right now.
I want to do it right now, too.
I'm
Matt,
pretty excited for it.
Matt, episode 1 of the Goldilocks Zone premiered January 28th, 2014.
Wow.
Or 2015.
25th.
Nearly 1 year ago. 40 episodes in the can.
In the can. Right in that can.
And it's been a hell of a year.
It's been a hell of a year.
But, like most of Hollywood, we can't leave good enough things alone. So, our big exciting announcement, Matt, to the world is that we are...
Being canceled.
Yes, it's over. This is it. Graham, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I doubt there'll be a write-in campaign to save the Goldilocks Zone.
Hours to pack out the studio. The premises.
Security will be here momentarily. No, the good news is, which I doubt anyone actually cares about because it really doesn't affect the show itself, we are rebranding, Matt.
We are rebranding.
We are rebranding today. It's all about #brands, and we are getting a new one. Goldilocks Zone, I will always love that name because it is really clever. But nobody knows what it means, and it's hard to search for. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be real.
I
And
think most people think it has something to do with a bear.
yeah,
3 bears, actually.
yeah, or like science fiction. You know, you're in the zone. I don't know. It's
The AutoZone.
cumbersome.
Yeah.
So, Matt, do you want the honors of telling the world our new name?
You know what? I think we should do it together.
All right.
I'll go first. I'll say the first word.
All right.
And
then
then you say the second word.
We'll say the third at the same time.
Let's do that.
All right. Ready? Here's the new name is For Debate.
Debate.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm excited. I really
Or
do.
no. No.
No?
No.
No?
You say yes. I'm going to say no.
Well,
now
Matt.
we're going to have a debate.
Oh.
Up for a debate.
And Matt, I would love to
I
debate
think
the
it's
name,
down for debate.
but we can't because we already bought all the rights. So, but we are going to debate, and I think that kind of better describes what we do on the show. And the reason I like the name, because we went through a gazillion options, it felt like. But I like that any topic is up for debate.
Any topic.
We are always up for debate.
We're always up for debate.
I think it suits the show well. I think it's catchy and memorable. I think it's short. And Matt, I think it's time we send people to our brand spanking new website,
Let's send them to it.
upfordebate.tv.
That's
Go
easy.
there, check it out. It's new for your viewing pleasure. It's got all of our past, all the old Goldilocks episodes. They come with us. Just like the Baltimore Colts leaving for Indianapolis, we're taking the records with us.
Mhm. We'll take it off.
All the old episodes are on the website. Links to all the places to subscribe. We do have new URLs. We're going to be Up for Debate TV on Twitter, SoundCloud.com/ I believe Up for Debate. Though I still have to. I think I have to claim that one, and a few other things. But it's all on the website. Go there and check that out. Matt, part 2 of our big announcement.
Part 2.
This is like this is going to take the whole show at this rate. Dungeons and Dragons. We have to date done 10 of them, and we're not even halfway there. Maybe we are halfway there. I don't even know. We've still got a lot to go.
Scratched the surface.
No. So
We kind of scratched the surface.
but we realized that in giving you D&D on the Goldilocks feed, we're not giving you enough Goldilocks.
No, not nearly enough.
It doesn't make sense. And we love playing the game so much, we say, well, what if we did games in the future? So we've decided to do our very own spin-off.
Our very own spin-off.
Our very own spin-off. Like Joey from Friends, we are going to spin off Dungeons & Dragons into its own show. Matt, do you want to tell the folks at home what that show is called?
That show? Well, you want to say it together?
Sure.
Let's say it together.
Okay. 1,
1,
2, 3. Game Nights.
Game Nights.
All right, that didn't work.
That wasn't really together.
No, Skype has a lag. It's hard to do. Game Nights is the name of the show, just like you would have with your family in your living room. You can have it with us on the internet. Game Nights at GameNights.tv. Don't go there. It doesn't exist yet. But it will soon. And
Every time you listen to this, you can go there.
I can't even guarantee that, but very soon after you listen to this.
Maybe wait a little bit. Maybe have a Hot Pocket. Hang out a little bit. Then you can go there.
Yes, exactly.
Chill out. Have some coffee.
We do, however...
Listen to some old episodes of the Goldilocks.
How about this? If you go to soundcloud.com/GameNights, that does exist. You can also search Game Nights as... or Game Nights... No, because we don't... And we're GameNightsTV@gmail.com. I got to keep track. They're all new, so hang with me here. But that is going to be its own feed. We're going to do Dungeons & Dragons till we're done with that, but then you never know what we're going to do after that. We may do more games. So, and no more Dungeons & Dragons on this feed. I will say there are 2 more Dungeons & Dragons episodes that are going to appear after this, episodes 39 and 40 of the Goldilocks Zone. After we publish episode 40 is when I flip all the names over. And every episode after that, D&D will be on Game Nights. That make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Very quick recap. This show is now up for debate at upfordebate.tv.
I'm waiting for that TV to change behind you.
Actually...
So says the Goldilocks Zone. I was kind of waiting for it to happen on the announcement.
Oh, like as I was...
kind of like when the ball drops on New Year's. It's just...
as a big thing. Well, how about this, Matt? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Whoa!
How's that?
They're up for debate.
Up for debate.
Just like that.
Look at that.
It's happened.
It is happened. And GameNights.tv for the D&D feed and for future games. And you will be able to subscribe to both at some point in the next 2 weeks on every platform, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, via RSS, and all the apps. It's going to be everywhere. You can't escape it. And so you're going to want to check that out as well. And both on Twitter, Up for Debate TV and Game Nights TV are the usernames because both of the other ones were taken, sadly. So we're going to do that. Okay, enough with the announcements. We thanks everybody for watching us all year. I've had a lot of fun. I know Matt's had a lot of fun. We're excited to bring you a whole nother year of great content on both shows. And we think we're going to do even better. But, Matt, some bad news. I think we might have missed some things last year.
We might have missed
some things. I mean, it's a long year, 365 days. We only did 40 episodes, and like 10 of them, literally 10 of them were D&D. So we really only did 30 episodes. It's hard to cover a whole year in just one thing. So you and I talked, we decided we're going to do a whole episode, our appendix really, or our supplement, our update, whatever you want to call it, to add on to the things we've already talked about. Well,
I've had my appendix.
You don't need it. You don't need it. It's extra.
It's a part of me.
It's extra. Just put in a jar on the shelf. You don't need it. So we're going to talk about things. Matt, do you have a list of the things you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I have a list of some things that maybe we missed.
All right. Would you want to go first, or you want me to jump in?
I would leave the honors to you, fellow co-host.
I got a stylus for my iPad, so I literally wrote the notes.
Wow.
My god-awful handwriting. Matt, let's go back to the beginning. Episodes 3 and 4. Do you remember what those episodes were? 3
and 4.
Yeah, what did we talk about?
Did we talk about breakfast? Was that our famous breakfast episode?
No. Earlier. The second topic.
Caesar, by the way, in 2016, at some point, the Up for Debate podcast will be talking about lunch.
Yes.
And possibly dinner, although that might have to wait for 27.
And then a snacks episode. We could really just do a whole series. Maybe we would need a third podcast.
Yeah. Sean and Matt talk about food.
Up for food. God, that's awful. No, it's not Breakfast, Matt. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The Marvel Cinematic.
Episodes 3 and 4. We talked through every single movie up to that point. But Matt, 2 hadn't come out yet when we talked about it in the spring.
No, it had.
Ant-Man and Avengers Age of Ultron, both out in 2015. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. I want to talk about both of those, and I want to talk about a new theory I have about what makes a bad Marvel movie. I've cracked the code. I figured out how they blow it, because sometimes they do.
All right, good.
Let's start with you,
I'm
Matt.
excited
Did
to hear
you
it.
did you see these movies?
I saw Ant-Man, and I actually never made it to Age of Ultron. I kind of forgot about it. Like, I wanted to see it. I had it on my list for a long time, and then I was just like, it just never happened. I don't know. I don't know why.
Well, what did you think of Ant-Man?
I didn't hate it. It was okay. Like, I think it definitely had a lot more potential. It could have been better. But in terms of a movie, like, yeah, it still fit. It was a Marvel movie. It was entertaining.
Yeah. I think it's exactly what a template Marvel movie is.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because I like that. But it wasn't, like, groundbreaking.
I actually would have, my biggest gripe is that I would have liked to have seen more Paul Rudd.
Yes.
Like, he was the star of the movie, and I feel like he wasn't in a lot of it. Like, maybe like half of it was him. He could have been in more scenes, considering that he is the Ant-Man. I would have also have liked to, like they say, I don't, spoilers, full disclosure, spoiler warning. That scene in the end, the climactic battle, kind of in the end, I kind of wish that had been a thing earlier in the movie. Like, maybe they could have done it, like, it was really cool. I like that big battle. That was an awesome final battle scene. But that's really the only time that he uses his powers, like as Ant-Man. The only, like, important time where he fights, I should say, where he, like, fights someone with his powers.
Well,
like,
I mean,
size.
if you think about it, we spend the first act learning who he is. We spend the second act of him training. And then by the time you get to the third act, you haven't seen Ant-Man, really.
Exactly.
You've just seen Paul Rudd fumbling a lot.
Paul Rudd becoming Ant-Man.
Yeah, which is good for an origin story, but I'm trying to think, if you think about Iron Man, for example, a similar origin story, he's in the Iron Man suit by the end of the first act, really.
Yeah.
And he has that fight scene in the desert.
Yeah, and he doesn't even really fumble around that much. He does, but it doesn't have to take, half the movie to show that.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I will say, I thought just about all the actors were great. I thought Paul Rudd was great. Michael Douglas was great. Michael Pena, who was, I think, the breakout, he was really funny. Maybe like one or two jokes too many.
Yeah.
But I thought he was really funny. I thought Corey Stoll was great as Yellow Jacket.
Yeah.
He plays a villain so good. That dude is like the ultimate villain. And he's really good on The Strain, by the way. If you've never seen The Strain, he's very good on that. And I thought all the acting was great. But I agree. It was about as mild a Marvel movie as you can get. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how Ant-Man plays into Civil War and some of the stuff going forward. That is really going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think that like we said, as a Marvel movie, it fits that formula.
It gets the job done. Yeah.
And it gets the job done. And my favorite moment in the movie, the Thomas the Tank ending.
That was funny.
That was iconic. It was memorable. It was nostalgic. It was cool.
It's tough. I would put it in the top 2 funniest Marvel movies. I would say maybe Guardians of the Galaxy is a little funnier.
It had a lot of jokes. It did.
It really was all about the funny. There was no, Tony Stark is dramatic and Captain America's dramatic. It was
Avengers and Guardians, I think, are the 2 funniest.
Yeah, Avengers was pretty funny too.
Iron Man has a lot of comedy in it too.
It does a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all do. I think that's what makes Marvel movies great. You wouldn't see that in a DC movie.
Right. That's a lot more gritty.
The Dark Knight didn't have a lot of jokes in it, put it that way.
Yeah. It had a Joker.
Now, let me explain Ultron, which I did see. And I did not care for that much. It was not that great. But I figured out, Matt, the 2 reasons there are bad Marvel movies. Because when we talked about these last time, we agreed there were movies that weren't great.
We did.
The Incredible Hulk.
No. Yeah, we definitely agreed that that was not.
Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Um, uh, um, Thor in general, not great.
Yeah.
I figured out why they're the problem. Problem 1, bloat. Marvel likes to pack a lot of shit into some of their movies. I think this is why Iron Man 2 and Ultron were not particularly good movies. If you think about Iron Man 2, it had like 3 different villains in it, right? Because you had Whiplash, you had the scientist guy, and then who's the third guy? There was another villain. Who was the other villain?
Uh,
I haven't seen it in such a long time. I feel like there was a third guy. Maybe there wasn't.
was there a third?
But then you also
Iron Man 2?
in Iron Man 2.
I never saw Iron Man 2.
You had the introduction of Don Cheadle as War Machine. You had Pepper Potts getting her own storyline. You had the introduction of Black Widow. You had so many things going on in that movie. The same goes for Avengers Age of Ultron. There's two, when you have, if you think about the original Avengers movie, right, you had maybe 6 characters.
Yeah.
Who each had to have their own little mini story, and that's okay. And even Hawkeye really didn't get one, so it was really only 5. Age of Ultron had like 8 or 9 different heroes, because then you're bringing in War Machine, and you're bringing in Scarlet Witch, and you're bringing in Quicksilver, and you're bringing in Falcon, and you're bringing in all these guys. And by the time you're done, the movie felt heavy in just so much going on that nothing really clicked. The second reason I think a Marvel movie fails, lack of character development. This is the single biggest reason Hulk and Thor did not work on screen. Why do we love Tony Stark? Because he was a dick, and then he learned his ways and became a hero, right? What do we love about Guardians of the Galaxy? They were a bunch of rough and tumble people who didn't like each other. They come together in the end and save the day.
Yeah.
Why we love Avengers, the first one. It's what makes great Marvel characters who evolve over the story. Ant-Man is a good example. He was a criminal. He becomes a hero, right?
Yeah.
Name me one way Thor evolves or changes in those movies.
Thor is a god in Valhalla.
Yeah.
And then he comes to Earth and he falls in love with an Earth woman.
But he already had a girlfriend up in Valhalla, so that's not new.
He
doesn't
even really change the whole demeanor. He still is clueless about Earth customs.
He's exactly the same guy at the end of the movie as at the beginning. He doesn't become more humble. He doesn't become
he doesn't really learn a lesson. Usually in that kind of a story, he learns a thing or two about
there's nothing to root for.
Being on Earth and being an Earthling.
There's nothing.
That's basically it. I mean, you could root for him to save the world, but it doesn't really get deeper than that.
That's your point. And you don't remember the character. I think the Hulk had the same problem, which is a shame because I think you can get a good storyline going with Hulk, but the Edward Norton Hulk movie, he was the Hulk at the beginning, a bunch of shit happened, and he was the Hulk at the end. And he walks off into the sunset. It was really more about his love story with his girlfriend, which doesn't really have a good ending, and about the villain in the movie. So those are the 2 reasons. I think if Marvel can avoid those things, I'm very fearful of Civil War because I want to get excited about it, and I think it's going to have a bloat problem because you're getting so many characters in a single movie.
Yeah.
And everyone has to have their lines and their screen time, and I think it's
got to tell the story. How do you tell the story with so many characters?
Well, honestly, if they're smart, they're going to you have to be okay with a character coming in, having one line, and leaving. Yeah. And Ultron refused to do that. Every character had to have an arc. Every character had to have a series of quips. Every character had to be in 3 or 4 scenes. If I'm in Civil War and Falcon comes in for one fight and then just leaves, that's okay. Because the movie is about Captain America and Bucky and Iron Man. That's the point.
Right.
Don't get away from that because you want to stuff as many of your characters in there as possible. So.
Yeah. I think you may be onto something here. I never really gave it a lot of thought, but yeah, I mean, I think it all makes sense. I mean, I'm not the biggest Marvel guy, not the biggest like expert in the Marvel universe, but I think I definitely know that if you have too many characters in a movie,
Hmm.
that's going to present a problem because
Hmm.
it's going to you don't really get to spend as much time on the quality of the story or on the quality of the storytelling. You just basically have to be like, okay, we have all these characters, they all got to do something, so we got to write stories for these characters and then kind of have them mesh together. And I think Avengers and Guardians worked so well in that it was all the independent storylines were already told. They
Hmm.
were already established.
But even Guardians, that was great because it wasn't. We didn't
Yeah,
get a good background on Rocket. We didn't
but we
get a good
didn't care.
background on Groot, and that's okay. It's
Right.
okay. Not everything has to be an origin story.
The whole background was basically just one scene where they
Yeah,
try to steal something. So
it's great.
they have a reputation as petty thieves. That's all you need to know. They're very charismatic petty thieves,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Hmm.
And we're good. We're good with the rest of it. But the rest of the characters, they gave them all their own movies. Captain America, Thor,
Yep. We knew who they were going in.
and we knew it was all completely established. So they got that out of the way.
Yep.
But now you're throwing in all kinds of different. Who are the new heroes they're putting in Civil War?
Well, spoiler alert. I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen Ultron yet. So,
Okay.
there is. Well, you're going to see Scarlet Witch. You're going to see, some of the B characters. Falcon and War Machine. You're going to see Black Panther for the first time. You're going to see an appearance by Spider-Man, which is very exciting. You're going to see easily 10 to 12 heroes in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Too many.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But you know what the bottom line is, Sean?
What?
It's gonna sell toys.
Oh, it's gonna sell.
It's gonna move the merch.
I'll be there on opening night.
Merchandise.
I'm so
and that's
excited.
The bottom line. That's the bottom line. That's what Marvel cares about. Kids will go out and buy every damn toy in that movie, of every hero in that movie.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line. Go on.
I like superhero stories. I do, and I think a lot of people do, and I think that's why people respond to these movies. It's just that it's getting to the point now where, when Iron Man first came out, Iron Man had to be good or people weren't going to see it.
Yeah.
There wasn't hype at that point.
No. It definitely had to break. It had to be the one to break the mold.
Right. And even Iron Man 2 to some degree, which people were a little disappointed, but then they followed that up with Captain America, which was great and people liked it. The problem is now they don't have. There's not the requirement to make good movies.
Right.
Right. If you come out with a Captain America movie, you have a minimum amount of box office you will pull. Even if it was just a blank screen for 2 hours, you put Captain America on it, a minimum amount of people will turn out.
Well, yeah, they have that establishment phase is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the next phase, which is we got them on the hook, let's reel them in.
I'm not saying that they're lazy, but it's just that it's easy to fall into a rut with these movies, and it's easy to get comfortable. You should never get comfortable. That's one of the reasons I love Guardians of the Galaxy and James Gunn and the work they did on that movie, because they really could have settled into a rut, and I think that movie did a great job of bucking expectation and being a different movie from the other Marvel movies. It was the first one to be really funny. It was outside of Avengers to some degree, but of course they came out about the same time. It was the first to be intergalactic. It was the first to offer really weird characters from the Marvel universe. And it really was a risk, and it paid off big. They got to do more of that. I don't just want to see, all right, let's mix and match characters and make $1 zillion.
I've got to say, that to me was the biggest movie surprise of 2015.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy, easily. Biggest movie surprise. I remember seeing the trailer for the first time of that movie, and I said, this is either going to be a disaster or it's going to be a huge success for Marvel.
Well, people said that about Ant-Man.
On it, and it paid off, and I mean, good for them. I'm happy that it did. I can tell you this: when I saw the trailer, I knew for a fact I didn't want to see that movie. I was like, this looks stupid. I'm not going to see it.
Yep.
I saw it, and then it was amazing. It was a great movie, and I'm really glad that I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, the same thing for Avengers to a lesser extent. I think people thought it was going to be good. I just don't think they knew how good it was going to turn out to be. And Guardians just caught everyone by surprise.
Yep, 100%. 100%. And that's, to be honest, I'm more excited about Doctor Strange than I am about Civil War. Because Civil War, I can pretty much tell you what that movie will be before it comes out. There'll be about 2 to 3 big action sequences where shit blows up and they throw the characters through buildings. Someone learns a lesson. There's a low point at which they all have to come back from, and the heroes all walk away relatively happy unless they kill off Robert Downey Jr., which is a real option, and his contract's up. But I'm excited for Doctor Strange because it's the first time Marvel goes mystical. It is a character people aren't familiar with. That's a more interesting movie to me.
That route opens a lot of doors, and I believe isn't Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yep,
he's playing Doctor.
Tilda Swinton is in it. It's Black Panther as well. I'm excited about.
It's going to be very different. Like there's a lot of roads that Marvel can go down now. Black Panther can get his own movie.
Well, he is getting his own movie, and it's.
I'm saying like every one of these heroes they introduce will or potentially will get their own spin-off movie or however you want to call it, their own movie franchise, and it's going to sell merchandise.
I know. Listen, my one advice to Marvel is, I want a lot of small teams. I want the Hulk to visit Guardians of the Galaxy, right? I don't need the whole team. I want these mini mix and matches.
You want more like fan fiction-y / fiction-y kind of
when
thing.
Falcon showed up in Ant-Man. Like, that was kind of cool.
That was interesting.
Because it shows the connected universe, and it...
Yeah. Well, all these characters, they inhabit the same space, time. So they can show up in each other's movies. And I like the crossover idea. I'm for it. I think the whole dynamic in the Avengers was the interaction of the characters. That was what made the Avengers so successful.
Yep.
That's also what made Guardians so successful. So I think that's really where Marvel has kind of made its bed, is the interaction of their characters in their universe.
But on a more casual level, right? Because Ultron saw a lot of character interaction, but they were, I'm mad at you, oh, I hate you, oh, what is going on? Oh, this. No, the best scenes in Avengers are just where they're hanging out.
Yes, eating shawarma.
Yeah, that's they're cracking jokes about, don't get angry, Hulk. That's what's
Hulk
nice
smash.
about it. I want to see these characters being real people, and that's what I think DC does not understand.
I like that. Actually, my favorite joke, or one of my top jokes from the Avengers, I really like, is when they're giving a briefing or something, and Agent Phil gives like he makes like an old reference to something. I forgot what he referenced, but it was like an old reference. And Captain America's like, hey, I got that one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what I liked about it. That was my favorite parts of Avengers, where they're showing the characters as human as they can. And that was fun.
Well, I think, and to be honest, not that I want to get off on too much of a tangent, I think that's why Marvel's Netflix stuff, Daredevil and Jessica Jones, work so well, because those are extremely grounded characters. Extremely. Yeah. Like we haven't seen in superheroes in a long time. And I think that's one of the reasons it resonates. It's not about big explosions and cool cars and guns anymore. It's about, how do these fantastical characters relate to me as a person? And Marvel, for the most part, understands that.
Yeah. Actually, to just extend even outside the Marvel universe, I think that your assessment of movies in general, just with that statement, it can be applied to movies that we're seeing out right now. I'll give you an example. Spectre, the newest James Bond film. Easily the least amount of film action, like in the traditional sense, with guns blazing and things blowing up and explosions. Then easily the least film in the franchise that had the least amount of those things, but they took a turn for storytelling instead. And they took a turn instead to set up and I won't give any spoilers away, but they set up something really cool between James Bond and the villain, Spectre, of the franchise. And they spent a lot of the movie exploring that route instead of blowing things up. I mean, there was still plenty of blowing things up and pretty ladies and shooting things. But actually, come to think of it, they even changed the whole pretty lady, like Bond girl stereotype too in that movie. The Bond girl in this movie is kind of a badass, and she's almost Bond's equal. but like the female equivalent, which was kind of nice to see for films to evolve to that point. But yeah, definitely things are changing.
Although I will speak out for the person at home who's yelling at their phone or their computer as they're listening. But you know, this year we also saw massive success from Mad Max and Fast and Furious. So it's not that people do want action and explosions, and they want that. They just, well, I guess Fast and Furious doesn't count, but Mad Max is a good example of explosions and action with a purpose, with characters, with
even Mad Max seemed to have a pretty deep story to tell.
Exactly.
It had a really deep story to tell. On top of all the gratuitous violence and action, which itself was almost kind of a self-parody of action
100%.
movies.
You can do it.
Taking it to its logical extreme for the purpose of comedy, or of drama, like a hyperbolic action.
100%.
But it had a really good story to tell. It had a really deep story to tell behind all of that gore and stuff. So, yeah, this has been an interesting year for movies, for sure.
It had a record-setting year for movies, for sure. And if you look at what's up and coming in 2016, it's gonna be equally as interesting.
Yeah,
we've got everything from more Marvel movies to a Ghostbusters remake to a bunch of sequels to movies we don't even know about yet. So
yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. Now, are we done with the Marvel topic?
I think we're done with the Marvel now. What would you like to talk about?
So I would like to move from movies into movies again. Because I think this is a really good time, now that we're on the movie discussion.
Bring it on.
To just stay on this topic for a little bit and talk about, of course, the new Star Wars.
Oh, I'm feeling The Force Awakens.
We've got to talk about that movie. Unless we're going to save that for a future episode.
I don't know, Matt. That's up to you. My concern is if we wait, we're going to be so far out from it.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to address it now for sure. I'd like to start a dialogue.
Let's start a dialogue. Yes.
In the future, maybe in the future we'll bring all the movies in. But for now, wow, what a film! I have to say, just like I mentioned earlier about Guardians of the Galaxy, once I heard they were making another Star Wars movie and it was going to be attached to the back end of the trilogy, the front end, however you want to look at it, I was nervous. I was nervous, almost, I guess the best feeling, and I was talking to some friends when we were going into the movie, and we said, it feels like we're sending our son to college. That's what it felt like being in line to this movie. It's kind of like, all right, like, we can't do anything else. Like, this is going to happen. We're not going to stop it. We're going to let you go. We're just going to see the result. That's all that we can do now. We can just sit and watch the result. And it really paid off. Our son made the dean's list. Our son graduated with honors, summa cum laude, and now he has an internship with the president.
Hey.
That is how good this movie is.
Although you know what happened to the last intern the president had. Just keep that in mind.
That's true. So yeah. Let's talk about this.
So you liked it, is what I'm getting. You liked it.
I liked it a lot.
Now, before we get into the details of the movie, I want to jump in because I like the thread you're starting about the emotional aspect of it, right? This was my first ever Star Wars theater experience. As you and everyone on the show knows, I just watched them, so this is all new for me. And I did not know what to expect. I went to like an 11, it was like a noon showing. It was in the middle of the day on a Friday, and I had the day off. And I go in there and I sit down, and to the right of me, I've got these two 30-something nerdy guys who have like nerdy t-shirts, and they're talking about all the like details of the movie and all the stuff a hardcore fan would know. And to the left of me, I had like a dad and his daughter was like, 8 or something. And it really was I would say it's the best theater experience I've ever had because, people cheered and they truly laughed, and they got excited, and at one point, when they open up the chest and there's the lightsaber in there, some kid in the audience goes, "That's a lightsaber," and we all laugh. I mean, it really was very unique, and I've seen a lot of movies in theaters, and I honestly cannot remember the last time I had such a connection to a movie. Maybe it was the hype, maybe it was the crowd. The place was sold out, and this was a couple days after it came out. Place was still sold out. It really was an emotional experience to sit and watch that movie. As someone new to the franchise, I still had a reaction. For somebody who had seen the movies all of 2 weeks before it came out. So that was really special, and I really appreciated that. And then I took a minute to breathe it in and really enjoy it. Now, when it comes to the actual movie, Matt, what did you think?
When it comes to the actual movie?
Yes. You like it.
I liked it. I just want to speak on before I
Yes.
talk about the actual movie. I want to kind of speak on that hype also, because it has this really unusual effect that I haven't had with any other movie franchise I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
The day before it came out, I was at work. I was talking to some coworkers, and they're probably about. I mean, they have kids of their own. They're probably mid-30s, I would think, mid-30s to early 40s. They remember seeing Star Wars. I think one of them said he was 11 when it was out in theaters. The other one said he was 12 when it came out in theaters. The first Star Wars, the very original Star Wars from 1977. I said I was 10. We both were 10. You and I, when the Phantom Menace came out in theaters, Episode 1. Kids now who are seeing Star Wars for the first time, probably 10, 11, maybe even earlier. So it really is this movie that has now gone 3 generations deep. This franchise has gone 3 generations deep, and everybody's connecting with it on the same level. Maybe they're not reading into it as much. Maybe that comes with age or experience. But there's an appreciation for something in common that I guess the only thing I can really equate it to, and it's it's kind of like sports. Like,
Yeah.
Whatever, your
pass it
dad
down.
is a Yankee fan, your dad's a Red Sox fan, so you're a Red Sox. It's kind of like that, but even that is kind of limited because not everyone likes sports or can get into sports. But
Maybe it's like gun ownership?
I guess that's
I mean, it really is
well, not anymore, but
any passion you take from your parent or your grandparent.
it's like, yeah, I guess the best I can kind of describe it as is it's kind of its own thing, like.
Well, and that's why you can't describe it, right? There's nothing else like it.
Which is really great. I think that it allows dialogues to happen between generations, which is awesome. Now everybody knows Luke Skywalker's story. Now everybody knows Obi-Wan's story. And then people can relate to it, Darth Vader and Anakin. Really, when you watch the movies in order, from 1 now to 7 we're up to, it's kind of the story of Anakin Skywalker, and now it's his legacy.
Yeah.
It's like Anakin's legacy. Whereas with the original 4, 5, and 6, it was just Luke Skywalker's arc of redeeming his father, which is super cool. Now, the film itself, I think,
Matt,
is the next thing.
I don't want to interrupt you. You got whatever you're playing with on your desk.
Oh,
is
your earbud.
Yeah, it's bouncing
it in
around
my
under
ear.
the microphone, so we can we're hearing
See,
scraping
the
and
problem
feedback.
was I ran out
You
of
ran out of
M&Ms.
something else to play with. Yeah,
I ran out of M&Ms, and I need to constantly play with things on my. Maybe
You know
I'll play with my Fitbit.
it's funny. We did literally 100 episodes of Don't Panic, and shortly after that, I started keeping a pen at my desk. And as
Yeah.
soon as I had this, I became much more focused in playing
Pen.
with keeping a pen in my hand and playing with it.
What? I have plenty of pens right here.
It's amazing the difference it makes. Anyway, yes, go ahead. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure people could hear what you're saying.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. Our fans need to hear us. So basically, the film itself, Sean, and I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking here.
You have, but you've got lots to say,
get-
so that's okay.
I want to get you in the dialogue.
That's fine.
Because this is up
I'm probably going to agree with you on everything, and you'll say it better than I will, so you go right
It's a
ahead.
problem because our podcast is called Up for Debate.
There's no debating this.
It's not up for agreement.
That's catchy.
So maybe the film itself, I have one really serious gripe, and I want to know if you share this serious.
Yeah, maybe I won't.
Now that you've seen all of the movies,
Mhm.
and I guess we should warn that there are some potential spoilers here. I
Oh,
don't want to
100%.
discuss anything significant, but I mean,
Well,
it should kind of come with the territory.
and I will say, as we move forward with a new name and the updated concept, let me make clear, we will mention off the top before we start talking about a movie or show that we're talking about it. If we talk about it, assume there will be spoilers. I think that's a given. If we say, hey, Marvel movies, and you haven't seen all of them, assume we will spoil something. I think that is better safe than sorry.
Right.
And honestly, who in America has not seen Star Wars at this point? Let's be real.
If you haven't, you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go see it.
Stop this right now.
Stop
Get in your
this
car.
podcast.
Go to stop the madness.
You know what? Don't stop the podcast. You can listen to the podcast on the way to the
theater and while you're waiting.
Maybe if you have a little bit of time.
They show so many previews. You got a lot of time.
There's a lot of time.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's your gripe?
All right. And I don't even know if it's I didn't really personally have a problem with it. It was an observation that I made. It's kind of now that you've seen all the movies, it was a direct retelling of A New Hope.
Oh, it's a reheating. They took it out. It was leftovers. They took out of the fridge, put in the microwave for 2 minutes.
Now, it wasn't 100% a reheat.
No.
I mean, the first act was all new. It had a lot of parallels. But as the movie went on, I just felt like they started flying a little too close to the sun. They started getting like...
Literally a fake sun that will blow up planet.
That now turned, big planet that turned into the Death Star. It even had a weak point, like the Death Star.
Yeah.
And a great part was when Han Solo lampshaded that and he's like, all right, so how do we blow it up? Where's the part of it that blows up? Like, there's got to be a weak point. The Death Star had a weak point. So, that was a big thing for me. I mean, I didn't like how the Death Star or whatever Star Killer base.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like how it blew up all those planets. It blew up like an entire
the Galactic Senate.
Planets.
Yeah,
that's a lot of planets. It was a pretty big moment in A New Hope when the Death Star blows up Alderaan. That was a huge moment. It blew up an entire planet. To people watching that at the time, that was crazy.
Well, and a big difference is in this movie, you see the people on the planet looking up as it comes towards them.
Yeah.
All of them
knowing they're about to die. Yeah, that's true. That's another thing that they don't show in A New Hope. The planet just blows up, but you know that is an inhabited planet, mostly because they make it look as much like Earth as they can. And I'm sure that was no accident. And you know it's Princess Leia's home planet, so you know that she's got a lot of family and people she cares about there. And that basically that moment was designed just so that you know, I mean, as if murdering Luke's aunt and uncle and like ripping apart his town wasn't enough, you know for damn sure now that the Empire is evil. They're the guys that are bad. The bad guys, you can't root for them. That was the whole point of blowing up Alderaan. Bad guys. Basically just took a big sign and said, like, these guys are bad. But we kind of we already knew that the First Order were the bad guys. Because the first scene is Kylo Ren and all his stormtrooper friends show up on that, whatever that is, that refugee camp, I guess. And then they gives the order to just shoot all of them. That there shows that they're bad. We know they're bad because they're shooting unarmed civilians. Bad, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't see why Starkiller Base had to blow up all those planets. We know that they're evil. They've established that. Well, it was just a direct copy of A New Hope. In that moment.
Hey, if you're going to build a giant CGI death base, you might as well use it.
Yeah. But I think just the threat,
you're right.
That this thing could cause a whole bunch of damage. That should have been enough. Like, they didn't have to show that. They should have instead extended that scene where Han, Chewie, Rey, and Finn are on the Millennium Falcon and they're running away from those monsters. They could have made that longer. Actually, they meant to make it longer. Fun fact.
I did not know that.
Fun fact. The You know when those two the two gangs show up. And
Yeah.
they want money from Han Solo.
Absolutely.
One of them has a Scottish accent. The other one speaks in like a made up language.
Yep.
So they show up and they want the money that Han Solo presumably owes them. Those two groups, the actors that play the men in those two groups are from very famous kung fu movies, martial arts.
I did not know that.
So it's speculated that those scenes were supposed to have a lot more, maybe the two of them fighting each other, or maybe the two of them fighting Han and company. And then the monsters show up and rip everybody.
Put the end to that, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was my big gripe. Also, gripe number 2, why do you introduce Captain Phasma
Yeah, I didn't get
in the
that.
movie? What was her purpose?
I didn't get that.
I mean,
they half-assed it. Either don't do it or go all in.
They cast Brienne from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Her name on Game of Thrones, by the way, is Brienne of Tarth.
Uh-huh.
And so everybody before the movie, when they learned that they were casting her, they started calling her Brienne of Darth.
Oh, the internet.
Slap. The internet is constantly funny.
Oh, crack up.
So, they cast this big name actress. They dress her up in a really cool stormtrooper outfit with a cape and stuff, but then they don't really give her much to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, presumably she's going to get a lot more to do in the next movie, and actually J.J. Abrams himself said that.
Yep. Well, and also, if and Abrams is known for doing this, if there are cut scenes, who are you going to cut first? The Phasma scenes. Those are the ones you can get rid of and not sacrifice the story. So it would not surprise me to learn that there's some on the cutting room floor. I don't know that, but
yeah, that's
seems
definitely
likely.
Possible. I just thought, I mean, I hate to be this constant movie cynic about merchandise, but I thought maybe she was there to sell toys, so all the kids would want to buy. I want a Captain Phasma action figure or something.
The problem with Stormtroopers, Matt, is they all look the same.
Right, except for this one.
How many white Stormtroopers can you sell?
Right. Well, this one's like silvery and has a cape.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know what I thought is, you know the scene where Finn fights that one Stormtrooper who has like a locker?
Yeah.
Why didn't they make Captain Phasma should have been the one to fight Finn? That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Unless they needed to show Finn, or whoever, I think Han comes to his rescue and kills him, and they couldn't kill Phasma off that early. That's the only thing I can think of. But that would have been a really good time to insert Phasma.
Agreed.
Other than that, though, now we can move on to the positives. Unless you have a gripe of your own?
No, I mean, listen, I would say the overwhelming criticism I've heard from everybody is it's a new hope again. And I put myself in the shoes of J.J. Abrams, and I think, all right, Disney's come to me. They've handed me this the biggest franchise in the history of all time. And the first thing I do is look at a Phantom Menace. Why didn't a Phantom Menace work? Well, it's barely a Star Wars movie. If you took off the Star Wars names and changed the characters' names, you probably wouldn't know it was a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So, I look at that and I say, okay, this is going to be the first in a long series of Star Wars movies Disney will make. We are reintroducing this concept to A, a new generation, B, a second generation that was pissed off because we gave them a Phantom Menace, and 3, a third generation, as you've talked about, that loved the first movies like it was nothing else. What is your best course in that case? You give them what they know and like, and bring them back into the franchise. Because if they had blown this movie, the other movies wouldn't have mattered. You have to get the first one right, and if that means telling the same movie again, you do it. And that's great, and I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm more excited for Episode 8 because they did this in Episode 7. Because this tells me they had a plan and they say we're going to reestablish all these characters. We're going to bring you back into the fold in a way that's comfortable so we can blow your minds in Chapter 8. That's what I'm hoping for.
Now that's what I'm hoping for. I'm optimistic, and I really think that was what they went for, and that's why I didn't really judge that move so harshly. I didn't look at it, and I wasn't very overly critical about the retelling of the story. What I'm afraid of now, moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that they're going to get stuck in a rut
Mm-hmm.
where they can't make new stories
Yep.
anymore, and
Uh-huh.
they can't think outside of that box. And suddenly episode 8 is just a retelling of Empire.
Yeah.
And then suddenly episode 9 is a retelling of Jedi.
100%.
Like, that's what I'm afraid of, is that these are all just going to be rehashes of the same. And they kind of set that up at the end when she meets Luke, when Rey meets Luke on the island. It's almost like a parallel of him meeting Yoda at the beginning of Empire.
Absolutely.
Like, she's gonna, she's gonna begin her training. She's probably gonna fail at first a couple of times. And yeah, I get that. But I just hope they are able to distance themselves from the original trilogy.
100%.
At some point. They got to cut the cord.
Now, that being said, I don't think I've ever said this about another movie. I really didn't have any major problems with it.
That might be first.
I honestly think it is. And maybe it's just because it's so new and I bet on a rewatch I'll pick out a few things. There were a few minor, this whole R2-D2 is in low power mode because he's sad bullshit. I mean, there's a lot of little stuff.
The whole last 10 minutes of the movie, I have to say, felt really rushed. It felt very rushed. Maybe not even 10. Maybe the last quarter of the movie kind of felt like, all right. It kind of felt like they had a checklist, and they're like, all right, we introduced Death Star, check. Rey lives on basically Tatooine, check. She's an orphan, check. We're going through this list. We got to make sure we hit everything. Okay, the cantina bar scene, we got that down, check. And then in the end, they're like, oh my God, we're running out of time. We got to find Luke. That's another check.
We only got 5 more minutes of film left, guys.
Right.
Come on, hurry
5
up.
more minutes of film left. How about they just show up and, oh wait a minute. R2-D2 knew where he was the whole time.
Shot. That helicopter shot looked weird.
Helicopter shot was
because
bad.
No other shot in the movie is like that.
Bad. I know.
It's so out of place.
That's what I left the movie thinking. I was like, God, if they had just redone that last shot, it should have been a fade out. It should have been a simple fade out.
Well, you could have done literally anything else.
It periscopes in, or whatever it is. It goes into, and then the credits. The helicopter scene was like from some kind of cheesy action movie.
Oh my God! But again, cinematically, it doesn't look. Star Wars is not shot that way.
Right. Never. Never. It's just not.
Yeah, that
bugs. Didn't have that technology when he made the movies.
But
even in the prequels, they didn't have that because it was all done on a computer.
No, well, in all the movies they could have, but it's just not the type of. It's not. Yeah, it just cinematically doesn't make sense. So overall, I didn't have any major problems with it. What I liked was, and I'll kind of maybe steal some of your thunder here, but I thought Finn and Rey and BB-8 were just, and maybe because they were shoved down our throats via marketing for 6 months, but I thought the acting was off the charts. I thought the characters were very well developed and well written. I got it, but it wasn't over. I liked the characters. I bought in 100%. I can't wait to see them in more movies. I thought they were good casting, all of it. I was 100% on board. I thought Harrison Ford did a really great job, and I'm glad they, spoiler alert, killed him off. They didn't do, I was afraid they were going to do stunt casting, right? Because that's what you do when you bring back a big franchise, is you say, wink, wink, it's Harry, it's Harry, wink, wink. Oh my God, it's Carrie Fisher, wink, wink.
Right, they just thought.
But it felt very casual. It felt very natural. There was no... and even when they brought back like Admiral Akbar and things like that, it wasn't like, like in a sitcom where the neighbor opens the door and comes in the house and the
that's
audience.
What I was afraid of too.
Right,
yeah.
And they didn't do that. It felt natural.
Very natural.
And I liked that.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh look, there's Princess Leia. Yeah. There's Han Solo. Oh, and Chewbacca's with him.
It felt like a real part of the story.
And I really appreciated that. I liked how they showed the Millennium Falcon before they showed Han and Chewie, because you knew it was coming then.
Yep.
You knew it was coming, you were gearing yourself up, and at that point in the movie, you're thinking, like, Han and Chewie are going to show up. Yep. I don't know where they are. Like, I'm going to try to guess where they are, but you don't know until and then you hear their voice, and you're like... And for me, when I was watching the movie, that got a little applause, which was kind of cool. Like, Chewie, we're home. And then it was like the fans in the audience that have been with the series since the beginning, like, gave it a little bit of its due, which was nice. Now, a big point of controversy in the movie is the limited use of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
A lot
Well,
of people
the non-use of
had
Luke
problems
Skywalker.
with it.
Let's
I guess
be honest.
the pretty much the not. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't even speak. Shows up for the last shot. Just gives a look of, I guess it could best be described as like deep sadness. Like that's the only thing. He looks at the lightsaber and he has this look of like overwhelming regret and worry on his face. He looks very, very distraught. And then it does the stupid helicopter shot for some reason, and then the movie's over. But that reveal of Luke saving him for the very end got a lot of, not a lot, but it got some feedback. Like the fans voiced their concern about that. How do you feel about the reveal?
I think it's okay, and here's why. Force Awakens was Harrison Ford's movie. It was Han Solo's movie, period. He got his movie and he died. Great. I loved every minute he was on screen. It was pure cinematic magic. Wouldn't change it for the world. I think it's okay because if you had tried to inject Luke, again, bloat, movie bloat. We have that too much these days. There was enough going on in that movie where you start injecting Luke Skywalker, and I think things go a little haywire. Episode 8 will be Mark Hamill's movie. It will be Luke Skywalker's movie. And it would not surprise me to learn if behind the scenes they said, listen, Mark Hamill, you're not going to be in the first one. We're going to pay you a boatload to be in the second. Harrison Ford, you only have to do one more, but it's all you. Like that would not surprise me if that was the strategic reason. And I'm okay with that. And you know what? Maybe the third one will be all Carrie Fisher. I don't know. But I like having the singular focus. Again, with this sort of wink-wink flashback, bringing in old characters, you don't want to shove too many of them in there. And I'm kind of glad they held them off, and I'm glad they waited. And to be honest, I am so jazzed. I don't know when it happened, but I was. Have you ever watched The Flash?
Yeah.
So,
I've seen the first couple of episodes.
So Mark Hamill does a guest spot on The Flash. He plays a villain. When did he become a decent actor?
It must have been after.
He was actually pretty good in that guest spot.
He plays a good villain.
I was kind of blown away.
Granted, he does mostly voice acting.
Well, he does. He plays the Joker most famously, yeah.
Yeah. But he does a good job of it. He really knows how to play the villain, and that led to a lot of speculation going in. A lot of fans were guessing that the big reveal that everybody was kind of teasing was that Luke Skywalker was going to turn out to have turned to the dark side. And I that was going in, honestly, that's what I thought.
I think it could still happen, to be honest.
I think it absolutely could still happen.
That wouldn't surprise me. But I'm actually kind of excited to see him in the next movie, and I'm glad they didn't use up their stock in the first one. So
yeah, he didn't really have a place in this movie. Like
no.
I don't really know where he would have fit.
This was a movie to introduce Rey and Finn and BB-8 and these new guys while paying homage to the old guys, and you just didn't need that.
I'm just really grateful. By the way, I'm just really grateful of Mark Hamill's decision to. It really kind of shows a lot of his integrity, that he didn't really want to damage the franchise by saying, well, now, I mean, this might be a little bit unfair, but could you imagine Shatner saying that? Could you imagine William Shatner being like, what? You're going to make a Star Trek movie?
Without me?
But you know what? He already did that.
Yeah, well, I know. But I think you're right. Well, and I think Harrison Ford, who forever said how much he hates Star Wars and didn't want to be in another one, yeah, okay, they paid him a buttload and they only made him do one, but still, he did it.
And he showed up. Right,
he showed up. And he didn't have to. So
no, by all means, none of these guys have to.
Credit where credit's due. They respect it. Again,
these aren't
movies. This is a part of our American culture. Like you don't treat this like you treat a movie. It's not a movie. You should do it for free. You should be honored. I mean, it's not true. I mean, Disney made $1 gazillion, but I mean, it's such an honor to be in something like this.
And I think they all realize that.
Yeah. And time will do that.
That's what brought them all there, which was super cool. And I know that because Mark Hamill didn't have any speaking roles, I don't think they owe any royalties to him.
No, but I think that's the deal. I think the deal was Harrison Ford gets money for the first movie, and Mark Hamill gets money for the second movie, and it all breaks even.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that that's the deal. Now, you don't think that Harrison Ford is going to come back as like some kind of space ghost,
No.
like Force ghost,
No,
like Ben Kenobi?
no, I don't think so.
No?
I mean, again,
I don't
you
think
have to
so.
consider how much he did his piece and he's done, and you ride off into the sunset. And I think Harrison Ford, for the number of movies he's been in and the amount of time he's been around, I think he understands that you go out on a high note. And can you think of a higher note to go out on than Harrison Ford did in The Force Awakens?
Definitely not. That scene was incredible.
His whole performance in the
That
whole
was an
movie, I mean,
outstanding.
he did the wink, Harrison, he Harrison Ford, and that's fine. But we love that. So
well, that's he is in every movie.
it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was great. It
now,
was really cool.
now, I do want to get to a few other things too, but quickly, your thoughts on the new characters. Are you excited to see them in new movies? Did you like the casting? Did you like their performance?
Absolutely. I didn't have a problem with a single one of them. Like you, I loved Rey. I loved Finn.
I love the two of them together.
They were
The chemistry
awesome. They
was
worked
great.
so well together. Their chemistry was great. I really can't think of a bad thing to say. I think that they were great, and I can't wait. I love now how Star Wars finally has that strong female role.
Yeah.
And I think they tried their best to do it with Leia, but there was just too much of Luke's story going on for anyone really to care about that. Plus, she keeps getting captured, and it's almost like she's the constant damsel in distress. Yes, she leads the faction of the Rebel Alliance, but
No.
she in the end, it's Luke and Han saving the day, and her just getting rescued. But Rey, on the other hand, she rescued herself, and I think it was really important to have that in there because it opens up like that whole demographic now. I think like there's a lot more potential for girls to get into Star Wars. It's more now. It is accessible to them. Like that was cool. And Finn, yeah, go on.
Well, it didn't feel like stunt casting. That was what was great about it. Because they could have been like, a woman, like
Right.
a black guy. No,
Right.
it was, honestly, it felt
was so
really
natural. It
Like
felt
you
just
bought it.
like now this is the way it is. Yeah.
And Mad Max, I think, did an equally as good job where you're just like, you don't think about it anymore. It just becomes a part of the fabric, part of the narrative. It was great.
Yeah, and that's really I think what movies have striven to do for the last couple decades. It's like we're finally here, which was really really refreshing. Finn was great in this movie. Finn, the actor who played him, he was really great. He was just so expressive, and at the same time, they wrote a lot of the comedic things, like a lot of the funny little one-liners they gave to him,
Yeah.
and I think they took a big risk in doing that, and I think it paid off.
Well, he's kind of like the new Han Solo.
Exactly. That was the kind of the vibe I got from him. I really like his backstory because his backstory is so original, and it's so important to have that backstory. He's a former stormtrooper who saw the evil things that the First Order was doing, and he objected to it, and so he left. And Star Wars has never told that story before.
It's an emotional story.
That instant redemption. And he gets the blood on his helmet, so instantly you know that he's not like part of, like that pretty much unconsciously you're thinking of him as an individual right from the very beginning. It was very well done. And I that's why I really think that the first act was the strongest of the movie. I think it opened up. It was really set the tone really well. So I thought that was
Now, I just
great.
hope and pray to God and Disney, if you're listening, please don't make Rey Luke Skywalker's daughter. Please don't. I will just, no more of this family. And then Kylo Ren being Han Solo and Carrie Fisher's son. None. I'm so sick of this family crap. Like, I get the first couple times, but I'm so over it.
I'm with you there. I don't want to see Rey be Luke's daughter. But on the other hand, J.J. Abrams did say in a interview before the film, he said that the overarching theme of this trilogy will be family. He said that family is going to be
and that's okay.
Going to be the thread that connects the movies.
But does it have to be literally family?
What I'm hoping is that when he said that, I hope he was talking about Kylo and Leia.
Yeah.
Not about Luke and Rey. I think that would just be too obvious. Like everybody is guessing that.
Right.
Something that J.J. Abrams is not is obvious. I mean, except for the part when he cast Benedict Cumberbatch to play Han, and then tried to lie.
That was awful.
Like, no, he's not Khan. Like,
No, seriously, guys.
no, yeah, no, it's a totally a different character. And then it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to see. I don't want to see Rey be Luke's daughter.
No,
I think it's
that
too
would
obvious,
suck.
and something that J.J. Abrams does is bring in a lot of twists and turns and the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we said with Finn, I think that a lot of people didn't expect that deep of a backstory for Finn, or they didn't expect. I mean, who would have seen Rey coming? Like,
Yep.
Force sensitive. So,
Yep.
I almost kind of like the idea that she's connected to Obi-Wan in some way.
That one's. I mean, she's going to be related to somebody, right? If you have the Force, you're related to somebody in Star Wars. Let's be honest.
Right.
That's kind of the rule.
She's obviously Force sensitive. She obviously is very strong in the ways of the Force, as evidenced with her battle with Kylo Ren.
Yep.
The climax of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously she gets in the Millennium Falcon. She knows how to fly it right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really explained in detail.
So then, who could her lineage go through?
Well,
Yeah,
they
Obi-Wan would
say
be good.
What they're saying, and the reason that people are connecting it to Obi-Wan, when she touches the lightsaber, the voices she's hearing are not Luke's, Obi-Wan's.
Yeah.
She hears both Ewan McGregor and Alec McGuinness say Rey. They both say Rey, and it was interesting. They extracted, I think they extracted the word afraid from the original trilogy.
Yes, they did.
Obi-Wan saying afraid, and they took Rey, and so you hear Rey, but that's clearly the voices of the voice of Obi-Wan.
Yep. Interesting.
So when she touches the lightsaber, she has an instant connection with Obi-Wan, not with Luke. She sees Luke with the clawed hand, putting his hand on R2-D2. But it could have just been, it's not from Luke's perspective. It's from a third perspective we don't see. She hears Obi-Wan's voices. So that's why a lot of people are saying that she has a Force connection with Obi-Wan, not with Luke. Yeah.
How about that?
So.
Wow.
I'd like to see that. I don't know how it will work. I don't know who Obi-Wan got frisky with, so to speak, to have Rey, because he's a Jedi. And I guess that's not a thing Jedis do. But who knows?
Who knows? We'll have to wait for the
the
sequel.
first time they broke some rules.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm excited to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Oh, absolutely. I want to see it a second time for sure before it leaves theaters.
Definitely.
Just to see.
Let's keep chugging along here. I'm not surprised the episode's going long, but I ain't stopping until we're done. So, I don't know if you had anything else on your list that was big you wanted to cover. I wanted to hit two really quick things. One, if you remember on episode 21, we talked corporate sponsors.
We did.
And Matt, you are a former fan of the New Orleans Saints.
No.
Current fan?
Current fan.
Still a current fan.
And always will be.
And always will be. What do you guys call yourself? Cheeseheads? What are the fans of the Saints? With your terrible towels? No, I'm mixing.
We're the Who Dat Nation.
The Who Dat Nation. Matt, where do they play football?
They play football in the great city of New Orleans.
In what facility?
Superdome.
The Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
All right. But Matt, you may know the Atlanta Falcons are about to get a brand new stadium.
Yes.
That's
yes,
right.
They are.
And what is the name of that new stadium?
The current one is the Georgia Dome.
Right.
I'm not really. What is the new name for this?
Well,
stadium?
they announced the sponsor, Matt.
They did.
Can you guess who?
All right. If I guessed it was a rival of Mercedes-Benz, would I be on the right track?
No.
Okay.
But I did have you bring that up for a reason.
If I guessed it was Chick-fil-A, would I be correct?
No, it's not Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A doesn't have NFL stadium money, I don't think.
Well, it does come from Georgia.
That's true, it does. Actually, it should be like the Coca-Cola Stadium, because that's right in Atlanta.
That also comes from Georgia, yeah.
No, Matt. It is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm not making that up. Mercedes-Benz has named two stadiums in the NFL.
I really don't like that. That's
how
I do not like
insane
that.
is that. Now, I feel like this is the one time they can get away from it because nobody calls it the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's the Superdome.
What are they going to? Yeah, right. Everybody calls it the Superdome.
So it's not like you're going to say they're playing at Mercedes-Benz.
Are they going to call it the Benz? Like, is that what the new?
That's actually kind of good. I mean, it's right now it's just Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Benz.
I
don't like that. I'm not a fan.
No.
Not a fan at all.
No. So anyway, I want to bring that up.
Excellent.
Just make a point of how
Chick-fil-A
stupid
Field.
Chick-fil-A Field. Well, Minnesota's new field is US Bank Stadium, which is, I think, a little better.
Yeah. I just don't. I mean, it's not that I have a problem with Mercedes-Benz. I just don't like how now there's two Mercedes-Benz stadiums. I don't think.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Well, and why does Mercedes-Benz need to sponsor two NFL stadiums? Like, even do like an NFL stadium and an NBA court.
I was going to say, yeah, move on to MLB.
Mix and match.
Build the new stadium for LA for the. Well, that's also football.
Yeah.
So don't do that. But I don't know. Buy a basketball. Yeah. Buy an NBA stadium. Name it. Yeah.
Well, I know St. Louis's proposed stadium. They already have naming rights for, if it ever gets built, and it's National Rent-A-Car, which is from St. Louis, and it's National Rent-A-Car Stadium or Field.
Who's that going to be for?
If someone moves there and if they build it.
No, what team?
Whoever's left in St. Louis. If the Rams.
I was going to say because I thought. The Rams might stay. Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, they might stay, or there's a rumor that there may be franchise swapping, so the Rams may leave, but the Chargers or the Raiders may go to St. Louis. Or no.
Okay, I had a big fantasy that the Rams would go back to LA because
it's likely. It's very likely.
And because right now I thought the lead contender was the Chargers. That San Diego was.
They're gonna move two teams.
Yeah,
I would bet. It's a matter of which of the two of the three.
Maybe the Chargers will go to St. Louis.
So the leading theory that I've heard is that your number one best case is you're going to see the Rams and the Chargers sharing a stadium, and the Raiders are going to either just force a new stadium in Oakland, or get a stadium in San Diego or St. Louis or somewhere else.
Okay.
And not move to Los Angeles.
Oh God, there's going to be so many riots if that happens.
Well, they say in Oakland. I think Oakland's okay with it. It's just that Oakland's really fighting them on a stadium, and that's why they might move to St. Louis, because St. Louis is the only city of the three who've said we're building a stadium.
Oakland fans love their Raiders.
Oh, of course. I think all the teams love. I think all their fans are not going to be happy about it. But that's the state. I know there's a rumor flying around that the owners of the Rams and the Chargers may actually swap teams. And the former Chargers owners will keep the Rams in St. Louis, and the St. Louis guy who really wants to move to LA will just move the Chargers there with Oakland.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. I find
kind of chart to
keep
draw some arrows. Flow chart.
The one other thing I wanted to mention, Matt, in episode 22, we talked mascots.
Yes.
Remember that?
Do we have some mascot news?
Mascot. No, I just wanted to bring up. Remember in 2015 when McDonald's thought it was a good idea to make hipster Hamburglar?
Oh yeah.
It was the dad in the commercial who had a secret lair in his house where he became the Hamburglar. Remember how stupid that was?
That was kind of It was very short lived.
Oh man, that was awful. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
I thought they were going to go more places with that, but they never did.
Because everyone hated it. The internet totally ripped them for that. It was dumb.
That was pretty dumb.
Matt, is there anything on your list that we didn't get to you see of importance?
Well, I wrote. Here's my list.
I've got more on my list, but I know we're running.
Star Wars. I wrote down Chipotle, and I wrote Marvel, but we already talked about that, so I crossed it out. Yeah, I want to start eating at Chipotle again. I don't know if it's okay or not, but I kind of want to do it. I want to just take the risk. I've gone too long without it.
I think you should do it. I don't think has anyone died?
No, I don't think
there's
been any fatalities. I think people just get sick, and I think it's connected to the lettuce. So maybe I just won't get it. I won't get a burrito with lettuce. I don't get lettuce in my burrito anyway.
Well, now that you're walking so much, you can fight. You have a healthier immune system, so
right. I can fight off more stuff.
Mostly sick people,
right?
Get sick, so you're probably fine. You have a Moe's or something?
I don't have a
comparable burrito place.
I got a Moe's down by my girlfriend's. So I can go with that.
I'm just thinking of alternative burrito options.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is up by me. There's really Chipotle's kind of the only game.
No,
unless you want to drive a bit.
If you got to do it, you got to do it.
I'll find more stuff. Yeah, but
good luck with that.
That's all I wanted to talk. I had it on my list because it was a thing that happened in 2015. I really just wanted to talk about Star Wars. That was
great. No, I think this was a great episode. Are you kidding me? I think this is a great way to wrap up 2015.
And hey, we have a whole slew of political related stuff to talk about.
We do. I'm trying to figure out when we want to do that. We've gone so long tonight. I don't think we'll be able to do it, but
We have a whole year.
But yeah, we have a lot coming up, and we haven't done an update in quite a while. So we'll have to make some time. Maybe after our next episode, maybe we'll do a bonus or something.
Cool.
We'll figure something out. But thanks everybody for joining us. Not only in this episode, but for the last year, the last 40 episodes. We greatly appreciate it. I want to remind everybody that this show, you can go, both URLs are going to work. So you can go to GoldilocksShow.com or UpForDebate.tv. They're going to go to the same place. So check it out there. And of course, your feedback is always welcome. 100%. You know, this show is unique in that we just pick random topics, and sometimes we pick good ones and sometimes we don't. Matt, I was going through all of our past shows to remember what we talked about, and I had completely forgotten about, guess which episode?
You had completely forgotten.
Yes, that we did one.
About the breakfast episode.
No, that's one of our, that's on the Mount Rushmore of Goldilocks Zone.
It is. That was a great episode.
I forgot about our creative writing mystery episode.
Oh dear God, no!
Which is so great, and I'm going to commit to the fans. We're going to do another one in 2016.
Oh, okay.
100%. I don't know when, but we will do.
This time we're going to have to set some better limits.
Yes, 100%.
Maybe I'll be the host. You can be the author.
Ooh.
We'll do a switch. Now you can see how hard it is to write a story.
You know, maybe we have to get one or two other people and then do we each write a sentence or something. I don't know.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, we'll play with that
stuff.
Maybe that's something we can do on a game night. Certain game night.
We could. Certainly could. So I forgot about that. But anyway, we had a lot of fun in 2015. If you don't like our topics, you got to let us know. Or if you have topics you want us to talk about, you got to let us know. I will do upfordebatetv@gmail.com. Email it there. It will come directly to me. We will talk about it on the air. Matt, anything else for the fine folks at home before we can conclude on this, the final episode of the Goldilocks Zone, technically?
Just that you guys are the real MVP.
USA.
USA.
That's
you
right.
Are the real MVP.
That's right. I know who to cast my vote for.
Absolutely.
Going into our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to us. Thanks for putting up with our banter. And we hope it got you through the day. We hope it got you through the night. And we look forward to being with you for another year.
And Matt, I forgot one other thing.
One other thing.
And you're not going to find out all of it tonight. For launching our new name and our new brand, we're having a giveaway.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say a launch party. I was
no, we don't have budget for that, Matt. Turns out the show makes $0.
Swanky rooftop apartment. No,
maybe it's on the dollar menu at McDonald's. No, we are having a giveaway.
Okay.
And I promise it's not branded merchandise that I put our logo on. It's an actual thing.
An actual thing.
It's an item that's popular. It is in high demand, and it's
Sean, I am not selling my appendix, Sean. I already told you earlier in the episode, the appendix stays. You can't take that from me.
Let me rephrase that. We have a backup item that is now available. So if you want to win, you're going to have to stay tuned to two places, our website, upfordebate.tv, on our next episode, and then also I'll be tweeting about it at upfordebatetv. So go to those places, follow, and you'll see what we're going to give away. I'm telling you, this is a pretty legit prize. I know nobody really wants a mug with our logo on it, but this is actually a pretty legit prize. So, I mean, it's not like an iPad, relax, but it's nice. You're going to want it. So look forward to that coming up on the next episode. But we've been talking far too long. So let's wrap up. On behalf of Matt, I'm Sean. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back on the feed with episode 29, which is more Dungeons & Dragons. We've got two more on this feed, so look forward to that in the coming weeks as we continue that adventure. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Up for Debate.